Hey everyone again. Here I am going to teach my secondary lesson, and this is a little harder for me since I'm not exactly in the teaching environment yet. As I mentioned earlier in the class, that I am still at Jacksonville State University and working for the university. So as you can kind of see, I'm at the library right now. So just to give you a little picture, there it is. I will today be talking about the importance of lab safety and procedures. However, I think this is very important for the younger secondary levels, such as like 6th through 8th grade, and the basic functions of beginning lab and experimental procedures as kind of what science is all about, not only the research and active side as well, but conducting experiments, figuring out why things work, and kind of reaching different learning styles for that. So I'm going to go over the lab safety procedures that I believe are important in the classroom. And throughout my lesson, basically the goal of the lesson is, in the classroom, I'd split my students into individual groups, and they would be making a trifold, the big cardboard trifold, that folds in and out. And together would be figuring out creative ways to paste these ideas on there, and then as that group, they will then present it to their class over kind of what they learned, how to implement it, the times to implement it, just the safety things, and what we need to go over together as a class. So the first kind of big rule is disposal alert. So you remember that, it's like a trash can with a circle with the X through it. So it's just kind of like you need to take things out properly. So if there's glass, you don't need to really put glass in the trash can. You should let your teacher know, put that in a different disposal unit, so that way, whoever's taking out the trash doesn't cut themselves, and anybody in the classroom as well. Next is the biological hazard, and that, if you remember, is the circle with kind of like these motions in them, or the circle with the skull, and that appears when dangers involving around bacteria, fungi. Those to me would be the higher grade levels, such as like 9th through 12th, but typically in 8th grade we could kind of start working with like petri dishes and microscopes and stuff like that. So it's kind of more when just environmental waste or hazardness gets into that activity, and then again a teacher or administration would take care of such matter as that. When working in a lab, we'll be working with beakers and flames. It's important to an open flame alert. That's the symbol with the flame, with the circle with the X through it. And this would just basically, if there was a fire or an explosion, again, your fire extinguisher is always in the classroom in the lab. So being able to know where that is located is extremely important. Thermal safety, remember, is kind of like an oven mitt, the big glove. And this is a reminder to use caution when handling hot objects. Now, with the test tubes and the beakers, sometimes under that flame you'll be heating it up, and you don't want to take the tongs and put the metal tongs directly on the hot glass. You want to put some sort of thermal safety, like the glove, on to then pick it up and move it to wherever we're going. Sharp object safety, as mentioned before. Glass, broken glass, you always want to let a teacher know when the broken glass is around or anything like that. Next is the fume safety. That's the test tube symbol with kind of like a smoky glare, and that is a symbol when chemicals react and cause a flame. So you never want to horseplay in our lab. You never want to mix chemicals if not told to mix so. You never kind of know when those can react and what kind of reactions they can have. If somebody gets on their skin, where do they go? Anything like that. Electrical safety. You never want to have the microscope unplugged. If it is unplugged, remember, we wrap the cord around the body of the microscope. When picking up the microscope, you grab the head and underneath, just like this, and then you walk and place it to where it directly is. Never pick it up and just hold it. Those again are really expensive items. Plant safety, this one isn't as covered as much, but plant safety appears when poisonous plants or plants, maybe we're doing an experiment on a leaf or learning about poison ivy or something like that. You always kind of want to be aware of what you're learning. If the directions say put gloves on, what kind of gloves, when to put the gloves on. Next we have animal safety. If we're working with live animals, which in my lesson is more directed towards the 6th and 7th grade, so we won't really be working with animals then. As far as animals go, maybe frogs or worms or something kind of that's already dead, and that's what we'll be working with that. Next is radioactive safety. This symbol appears when radioactive materials are used. Again, with the younger age group in the early secondary stages, we won't really be working with that much. Clothing protection, that's a huge one, especially with 6th, 7th, 8th graders. You know, they want to wear the cool things and be kind of into it. However, there are aprons that will be provided during all labs. And then, you know, even if we're not dealing with chemicals, it's important just to put them on over your head. Again, tie them around. You wear it during that duration. Closed with that is closed-toed shoes in any lab we do. It's always important to be dealing with that as well. Fire safety, we mentioned before, always notify me, the teacher, any important person around you, as if there's an open flame or something like that. Next, we'll be moving to explosion safety. Explosion safety symbol kind of like an explosion, and that appears when chemicals could cause an explosion. Again, not that I think we'll be dealing with anything, you know, that hazardous, but it's important to know. A very important one, along with the clothing protection, is the eye safety. Now, you remember safety goggles will always be provided, you know, the big goggles with the strap around your head. They will appear when danger to eyes. I personally like to wear these in any of the experiments just so that we feel safe and needed. Moving on with poison safety, that's again kind of with the skull with the bones poking out. Again, I don't think we'll be dealing with any poisonous activity the younger age groups, such as my lesson is developed, but it is important to know just in case, and moving up into the higher grade levels. And last, we have chemical safety. Chemical safety appears when chemicals used can burn. When that kind of comes, there's always an eye wash station, which is another important safety thing that will be presented in any lab, and you simply go over and lean over and flush the water. You don't want to merge your eyes into the water because that's just getting the chemicals more involved. You want to actually flush them and push the chemicals out. Now, I will show you this. This is what I used to conduct and show. So when, there it is. Sorry about that. This is what my students will be making their trifold on. All these fun looking objects. I'll have my students cut out, paste, any crazy way that they think that they want, feel comfortable in presenting. That's what I would like to see in the class. Each student must talk in the presentation. However, I don't want the same student talking the whole time. The presentation will be 8 to 10 minutes long, and I will be grading on that. I will be grading on how the students work together in the class conducting their actual trifold. You know, again, I don't want to see one student doing all the coloring or drawing and the others just hanging out, or one just cutting papers and that's all that they do. I want to see everybody working together. Next is I will be sending home a student safety contract that the student must read, the parent must read, and then I will have the student and the parent sign the form, and that is for a letter grade. And the day that I give that to the students, it must be brought back to me. Every day late, the letter drop goes down. And this is kind of an example of what the safety contract will look like. As you can see, there's a place for the student to sign as well as the parent. You know, and here are some examples that I saw of just kind of how the student can kind of create what they're trying to show the class. You know, I found this one, a minion from Despicable Me on lab safety. So, really just want the students to kind of be creative with it and that sort of thing. And last, you know, this is kind of just a funny picture that I saw of what chaoticness could be if we don't follow the correct rules and procedures. And you know, as a teacher, we want everybody to follow the correct instructions. So, as mentioned before, it's a little harder for me since I'm not in the teaching experience yet, but this is definitely a lesson I would implement, and I hope you enjoyed it.